طيب بيقول to promote a new brand of shoes. A shoe store will run a promotion using a jar containing 3 red ball marked 10% off. Each one of them is 10% off. And then 2 white marked 30% off. And 1 green marked 60% off. Each customer will randomly select one from the jar to determine the discount that the customer will receive on any single pair of the new brand of shoes. Given that the new brand of shoes regularly costs $60 per pair, what is the average discount that the store can expect to give each customer due to this promotion? So we need basically the average of the discounts. The discount amount كمان يعني how much will be off. So this is similar to just that the 10% is repeated 3 times. So it's like 3 times 10 plus 2 times 30 plus 1 times 60, because every one of those is we multiplied by the number of times it's repeated. And then over the overall number of balls in this bar. How many are there? If you count, you'll count 3 plus 2 plus 1. That's a total of 6. That would get you the percentage discount. So if you calculate that, that's 30 plus 60 plus 60, that's 150 over 6. Let me calculate that quickly. That's 25. So this is 25% off. Off of what? Off of the $60 per pair. That's the average cost. So I'll multiply 25% times the $60. That would get me the amount in dollars. 25 times 60. This is $15. So there's a discount of $15. An average discount of the $16. Does that make sense? Right, moving on. They're saying, using the following information, a 500 square mile national park in Kenya has large and small protected animals. The number of large protected animals at the beginning of 2014 is given here. At the beginning of 2014, the number of all protected animals, all means large and small, was 10,000. Zoologists predict that for each year from 2015 to 2019, the total number of protected animals in the park at the beginning of the year will be 2% more than the number of protected animals in the park at the beginning of the previous year. Yani apparently it is increasing by 2% each year. At the beginning of 2014, the number of lions in the park was P% of the total number of large animals. Which of the following is closest to the value of P? So what is that P again? P is the number of P% is the number of lions from the total animals, large animals. So I'll go back to the table and check how many lines are there. There are 200 lines. Out of how many large animal in total? Out of 2,400. So it's basically 200 over 2,400, which would get you 1 over 12. Now 1 over 12 is a fraction. If we need to translate it to a percentage, I'll just need to multiply that by 100. This would get you 8.3%. When we go back here, which of the following is closest to the value of P? If it's 8.3%, then it would be closest to 8%, not the 9%. G is the correct answer, because 3 is less than 5, so I can't approximate 8 to the bigger. I have to approximate it, or to leave it as it is. Does that make sense? I do hope so. Moving on to 43. Thank you. They say in this park, the average number of gallons of water consumed per day by each elephant, lion, and giraffe is 55 and 100. So elephant, lion, giraffe, they're in this order: 50, 5, and sorry, in 10. Elephant, lion, giraffe, yeah. Which of the following matrix products yields the average total number of gallons of water consumed per day by all the elephants, lions, and giraffes in the park? So how much is, yeah, how can I calculate the average amount of water calculated by all that number of elephants, lions, and giraffes? So I have to go back again to the table and check. There are apparently 600 elephants, 200 lions, and 800 giraffes. 600, 200, 800. And go back down to the information. It was, لا ايه هو انا نسيت انساهم ليه؟ I have to let's take a screenshot. It's bad. That makes things easier. So from the table, you can tell that the elephants has 600. They're supposed to be 600 elephants. The lions are supposed to be 200 lions, and the giraffes are 800. So basically, I'd like to multiply 600 times 50 and 200 times 5 and 800 times 10. Now, in the matrices, we've discussed this before. When we multiply the matrices, we multiply first rows from the first matrix times the columns of the second matrix. So I need this, if I need the 600 to be multiplied by the 50, that's what will happen here in A. The 600 should be multiplied by the 50, while the 200 should be multiplied by the 5, that's row aho times column, while the 800 will be multiplied by the 10. A would get me the correct answer. بس مثلا C on the other hand is not, لأنه I should start rows times columns. يبقى the 600 will be multiplied by the 50 أصلا, you can't multiply those two. لا, you can, but it wouldn't get you the correct answers. But A has to be the correct answer based إنه لازم آخد من الماتريكس الأولانية الروز والماتريكس التانية الكولمز. Does that make sense شوية ولا لا؟
ايوه، انا السبكونشس مايند بتاعي كان بيقول لي ايه، بس انا قلت
أفتي.
الصفقه بتاعتها سي. اقسم بالله.
اوكي، لا ما هو فكره روز تايمز كولمز يبقى انت عايز الروز كلهم يكونوا 3 different things والكولمز بالطول يكونوا نفس الترتيب. يعني انا مثلا لو عايز هنا يبقى فيه A B C، يبقى لازم الكولمز لو انا عايزها تتعمل تبقى كده A B C، عشان ال A تبقى تايمز ال A وال B تايمز ال B وال C تايمز ال C.
انا فهمت اصلا لسه من اول ما حضرتك بدات تشرحها، بس انا ما كنتش فاكرها بقى ساعتها.
ايوه فاهم. تعال نجرب دي. بيقول لي let T be a positive integer less than 6. Based on the zoologist's prediction, which of the following expressions represents the number of protected animals in the park T years after the beginning of 2014? So, how is this
دي
done?
على دي جي.
لا دي تي
لا جي.
تي والله. المهم
ايه ده ازاي؟
يس والله تي. المهم مش فارقة. المهم ان هو
لا انا
هنا
مش فاهم.
ايه؟ انت بتقول الانسر جي؟
ايوه.
ماشي سوري. ماشي صح definitely because we started with
عملتها كده يا مستر وعملت اليرز فوق برضه تاني السؤال غلط.
ليه؟ ما هو بس استناني بس we've started with 10,000 and then المفروض we're increasing by 2% each year. So it is supposed to be 1 plus فعلا 0.02 to the power of the number of years اللي هي t. صح؟
5 اللي هي 5.
لا مش لازم بقى عدد سنين معين، انا ما اعرفش هو بيقول لي.
عشان عملتها كده فوق يا مستر واللي هو كان 5 ييرز وبتاع غلط.
ما هي مش 5 years، هو قال لي t years after the beginning of 2014. So I said
اللي فوق يا مستر في سؤال فوق.
فين يا حبيبي؟
اكيد مش عندي، فوق اكتر فوق اكتر. ايه ده؟ السؤال مش عند حضرتك، ده عندي انا.
لا مستحيل.
والله اهو قدامي اقسم بالله اهو. اقرا لك السؤال.
ايوه ما هو ده مش سؤال، دي الانفورميشن.
لا كان مديني تحتيها زرار يعني.
ايوه ما كان سبيس، بس هو مش حاسبها لك حتى كانسر.
انا كتبتها وكتبتها غبي على الفاضي.
لا هو مش question اصلا، ما هو حتى كاتب يعني، هو مكتوب فوق اهو use the information ومكتوب فوق intro بس على الكويستشن show the answer، بس هي مش محسوبه as part of.
لا يا مستر، عندي مديني مكان سؤال.
ايوه مديك سبيس تكتب، بس هي مش محسوبة as an answer، يعني مش محسوبة في overall.
ايوه.
anyway مش مهم، المهم فهمت الفكرة دي بس بليز. هنا بيقول لي واحد ده بقى خلاص مش على نفس الانفورميشن، بيقول لي Anila and Jacob plan to attend a concert in Brady. Anila will drive 375 kilometers to Brady at a constant speed of 75 kilometers per hour. I'll stop here. I told you whenever you're told any rate, well, this is considered the rate speed, you put it in the form of kilometers and hours. And you write under the kilometers 75 and under the hours, because it's done in 1 hour, 1. Then stopping one time for a 30-minute break. So apparently she drove 375 kilometers in total, or she stopped for 30 minutes, break in the middle. What else is important? Jacob will start 600 kilometers from Badi, so that's another person who apparently he'll go a distance of 600 kilometers. Will drive at a constant speed of 90 kilometers per hour. So I'll write that as well as a rate, kilometers and hours, but they're a different person. So I'll have to write it in a different space. And that happened for 2 hours. So they spent a total of 2 hours. I can cross multiply and find out the distance that they've covered.
1 each.
1A?
1 each.
180 is the distance. بالظبط. The 180 is the distance they've covered. طيب, now he will take 1 hour break. So he'll then take a 1 hour كمان مش minutes break. And then drive back and continue the rest of the road. اللي هو قد ايه the rest؟
480 أظن، أو
420. 420. So 600 minus 180, that's 420 kilometers. This is the amount اللي left لسه to cover. He'll do that for 120 بس at a speed of 70 kilometers per hour. So there's a different now speed of 70 in 1 hour. So under the 70, I can put 420 and get to know the amount of hour needed. So 420 times 1, sorry, divided by 70. That would get you 6. وانا بكتب ايه؟
و6 بلس 2 hours اللي هم بتوع الأول.
لا give me one
بعدين
second معلش
hour
عشان بس بس 1 second. 1 second. This is 6. So it would take 6 hours. So now we've got 6 hours, and then there's an 1 hour break. So that's 7 hours plus the 2 hours at the very beginning. So that's a total of 9 hours.
Well, the first people, we're gonna take 5 hours and 30 minutes. After 5 hours driving with 30 minutes break.
So
that means that the difference is between.
هياخدوا how many hours driving? You've calculated it?
5 hours.
5? Okay, so 5 hours, that's the total. So 5 hours, 5.5 hours لأنه they'll take كمان 30 minutes break.
وعند البريك فالفرق ما بينهم 3.5 hours يبقى الإجابة دي.
Perfect. حلو قوي. So بس organizing the givens will make sense دايما, و cross multiplying will get everything almost done. Now ده برضو 2 fractions minus each other, they're the same denominator already, so they did the whole thing for you. بس the mistake is and people forget to distribute the negative on both, so it would become negative 7x plus 3. كل ده is over the 2x. Now you'll have the 3x minus the 7x, that's negative 4x, and then 5 plus 3, that's positive 8. All of this is still divided by the 2x. You can divide everything by 2. So that would become negative 2x plus 4 over x. And that must be the correct answer. I knew that. لأن the common mistake is forgetting to distribute the negative. Minus هي minus كل دول كأنها minus ده في bracket. So the negative will be distributed. بس. طيب. A rectangular stage is 90 feet long and 30 feet wide. على طول I started showing myself a draft. What's the area? But in yards. So this is a question where we need to know the rate of change between yards and feet. بس طبعا عشان ده again the international version, so you're not given this rate. بس المفروض يبقى given في الامتحان بتاعنا. This is not an international, this is the American one. So anyway, هي ال 1 yard ب 3 feet. So if you know that something is 90 feet, I can put 90 under the feet and get to cross multiply. It would be 90 times 1 divided by 3, يعني 30 yards. So this is basically 30 yards. And then the other one should be 30 times 1 divided by 3, يعني that would become 10 yards. So this is 10 yards. Now when we're getting the area, it's 300 times 10, that's, sorry, 30 times 10, that's 300 yards. B is supposed to be the correct answer. A rectangle with its vertex coordinates labeled is graphed in the standard XY coordinate plane below. A lattice point is a point with coordinates that are both integers. A lattice point inside but not on the rectangle will be chosen at random. What's the probability that the sum of the coordinates and the sum of the x coordinate and the y coordinate of the chosen lattice point will be odd? هو when would two numbers, when they're added, would give me an odd answer? When would that happen? Basically, if it is odd plus even. But if it's odd plus odd, the answer would be even. If it's even plus even, the answer would still be even.
لا odd plus odd يا مستر مش even.
3 plus 3 is 6. 3 plus 1 is 4. 7 plus 7 is 14. لأنه it's divisible by 2. But the only thing is odd plus even. That's the only thing that would be odd. So it means in I need either the x's to be odd and the y's to be evens, or the opposite, where these are the even ones and these are the odd ones. So what are those numbers that I'm allowed to choose from? For the x's, I could be choosing either, if I'm looking for the odd ones, then I could be using 1, 3, or 5, and that's it. These are the numbers between 0 and 6. So there are 3 possibilities. And if then if I choose the x as odd, then I have to choose the y as even. How many even possibilities do I have? Only the 2, 3, no, nothing else, just 1. So I'll have to put here 1. 3 times 1, that's a total of 3 possibilities. Now, on the other hand, if I decided to choose the x as even, how many even possibilities do I have? I have either the 2 or the 4. So there are 2 possibilities for the x's. In that case, I have to choose odd for the y's. How many odd possibilities do I have for the y's? It's either 1 or 3. So there are 2 possibilities. Now I have to multiply those and that would get me 4. In total, these are 7 possibilities. Type 7 out of what? Out of how many possible options? 7 out of, on this axis, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 to choose from. And on the y-axis, I have 1, 2, and 3 to choose from. That's 3 times 5, which is a total of 15, sorry. So the answer is H. So I'm basically counting the possibilities in each possible case out of the total اللي هم every single possible thing that could happen. Case 1, where x is the odd one and y is the even, because whenever we're adding one odd and one even, the answer would be odd. If x is odd, I have 3 options for an odd x, which are these. And I have 1 option for an odd y, which is just the 2. On the other hand, if I decided to pick the scenario number 2, which is x would be even and y would be odd, then I have 2 even possibilities for the x's, I'll put them right there, and 2 even possibilities for the y's, I'll put them right there. I have now the possibilities in both scenarios, a total of 7 different options in both scenarios. This is the wanted, in هما to come up to become odd, to sum up to an odd number. While the total is every single sum that could be there. اللي هما, how did we come up with the 15? اللي هما, we have generally 5 x's and 3 y's. So all the possibilities that could come up, whether odd or even, are a total of 15. That's wanted over total. That's the probability. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. The nth term of an arithmetic progression is given by the formula كذا. So they give you the formula where D is the common difference, A1 is the first term. If the third term of the arithmetic sequence is 5 over 2, and the sixth term is 1 over 4, what is the seventh term? There are more than one way to think about this. The word arithmetic progression on its own, it means and there's a common difference, as they said, which means we're adding the same number every single term. So
مستر هو common difference لازم يبقى
positive
ممكن
or
يبقى زي لا مش ده القصد.
fraction؟
مثلا يعني مثلا 2 و4 و6 و8
لا.
والباقيين بينهم common difference.
2 4 6 8 الكومن ديفرنس ما بينهم 2. ده arithmetic.
ينفع بقى common difference يبقى مثلا 100 مثلا ينفع مثلا يبقى يعني زي rate of change مثلا.
يعني يبقى الديفرنس نفسه عمال يزيد؟ لا
مش القصد.
يعني ممكن ابتدي من عند 100.
الديفرنس بيبقى مثلا multiplied by 2 مثلا 2 4 8 كده.
الديفرنس نفسه هو اللي multiplied by 2، لا ده ما يبقاش common difference. كلمة common difference يعني أي terms whatsoever موجودة، الفرق لازم من هنا لهنا أعمل plus the same number. plus the same number بالظبط. plus. That's what we call a common difference. Other than that, it's not an arithmetic sequence.
تمام شكرا.
لا يا باشا. Now, because you're not given the difference, but you can either think of a method to quickly get the difference, or you can substitute in that rule and find the difference, whatever you prefer and whatever seems to be easier. Now, the easiest and fastest thing to do is to just subtract the sixth term minus the third term, and then divide that by the differences between them. اللي هو ايه ال differences between them؟ اللي هو 6 minus 3. ال 6th minus the 3rd يعني difference of 3. So once you do that, you can get actually to know the difference فعلا is how much.
لا
ماشي. So مش أنا ال difference مش ال 6th term is this one. And the third term is that one. So if I got the difference between the 6th and 3rd and then divided that by the number of differences between them. So imagine this is the third term, this is the 4th, 5th, and 6th. So if I did the difference between the 6th and the 3rd and then divided them by 1, 2, 3 اللي هو الفرق ما بين ال 6 وال 3، هعرف كل difference من دول بكام. So that's what I'm doing. 1 over 4 minus 5 over 2 اللي هي تطلع لي بنيجاتيف 9 over 4. ايه؟ Sorry, say that again.
قلت طريقتين.
هو ماشي هقول لك، بس اديني ثانية نخلص دي هتطلع كده الديفرنس بتاعي بنيجاتيف 3 over 4. This is the first type أو this is the first method of getting the difference. التانية بقى is using this one. Now, this method is supposed to give you an اللي هو أي term أنت عايز توصل له. So let's use the sixth term as a given here because the sixth term is given. So I'll put بدل an 1 over 4 equals. Now, بدل ال A1 because I don't have the A1, I could start from A3 اللي هو third term عادي، فهحط هنا 5 over 2. But if I decided to start من A3, I have to do inside the bracket n minus 3 because I started من n3. So this one is related to this one. If you decided to use here A1, you have to do n minus 1. If you decided to use A3, you have to do n minus 3. If you decided to use A6, you have to use n minus 6, and so on. Now, what is the n? N is the position of this term, which is the sixth. So I'll put here 6, and then I'll leave the d as unknown. You can do shift solve and find the value of d, or you can solve it step by step by moving the 5 over 2 to the other side. Subtraction. 6 minus 3 is just 3, which will get you at the end 1 over 4 minus 5 over 2 over 3, which is exactly the same procedure, negative 3 over 4. That's the difference, يا حبيبي. It's not the answer. Now they're asking you actually to find the seventh term. Because you have the sixth, you just add to it the difference and it would get you the seventh. So the sixth is basically 1/4. I'll just do plus the difference that I got, which is -3/4. And the answer will be -1/2. A is the correct answer.
فهمت. فهمت وبدأت أعلق أكتر من الامتحان.
ما دام فهمت means that you should be able to think about it in the test, inshallah. The probability of Jamie being chosen to bat first in the lineup of his baseball team is 1/9. What are the odds in favor of Jamie being chosen to bat first? And then they expressed that the odds in favor of an event are defined as the ratio of the probability that the event will happen. So for that to happen, it's 1/9 will happen. To the probability, يعني to كده, the probability that the event will not happen. If it's 1/9 that it would happen, then if it won't happen, it's basically 8/9. الباقي من 9. Now, if I need to find the ratio between any two things, I basically divide them by each other. So I need to do 1/9 divided by 8/9. On a calculator, that would become 1/8. F. So these are the events in favor that the event will happen. But these are the probability that the event will not happen. Because if they said 1/9 that it goes for him, then it means 8/9 will not go for him. Now they need the ratio of this to that. To find the ratio between any two things, you basically divide them by each other. So I put the first divided by the second, and it got me 1/8 on a calculator right away.
فهمت.
It's pretty easy, صح?
اه
طيب يلا let's try one more. Let's go for P11.
ماشي.
A 120-liter solution has 5% salt is mixed. It has 5% salt. Is mixed with an 80-liter solution that is 15% salt. So I'll first do 120 times 5% to get to know بالظبط how much salt is that. Which is 6 liters of salt. And then I'll have to do 80 multiplied by the 15% to get to know how much salt is that as well. Which is 12.
أنا بقول لهم قعدت كذا هتبقى 18.
18.
نعمل 18 ونعمل ال 80 دي بلس 120 هتطلع 200 و 18 دي تبقى على ما أظن 9% من
Yeah, exactly.
200 فهتطلع يقول ده سهل ده وحليته في منت تقريبا. دي استغفر الله.
A 50-foot long rectangular swimming pool it's a 50 foot long with a vertical sides that is 3 feet deep at the shallow end and 10 feet deep at the deep end. So basically one side it has 3 feet, but the other side has like 10 feet. You're saying the bottom of the pool slopes downwards at a constant angle from the horizontal along the length of the pool. يعني basically if this is the ground, معلش give me a حبايبي 1 second, I'll be right back. Basically asking what is or how to find the angle. Which of the following expressions gives this constant angle اللي هي going downwards كده اللي هي we're talking about this angle basically. So if this is 50, this has to be 50 as well. If this whole thing is 10 and this part out of it is 3, it means that this piece here is 7. So I have a triangle. This is a right triangle now, where one side is 7, the other side is 50, and I'm trying to get this angle. The 7 is considered right opposite to the angle. So this 7 is considered the opposite, while the 50 is next to the angle. So the 50 is considered the adjacent. Now, what includes the opposite and the adjacent? It's the tan. And the tan of the angle is supposed to be equals to the opposite over the adjacent. Now, tan of an angle that you don't know is supposed to be equals to the opposite, which is 7, over the adjacent, which is 70. If I'm trying to find the value of x, I should do shift tan. Yani tan should go to the other side as tan to the power of -1. So tan to the power of -1 of 7 over 50 is supposed to be the correct answer, F. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Or this thing, the hyperbola. So there's something called a center of the hyperbola, which is the point exactly in the middle between these two. So in order to get the center, it's easy. You just have to find the midpoints. In order to find the midpoints, I'll just have to add the x's and divide them by 2, which will get me 2. And then add the y's and divide them by 2, which will also get you 2. So I know the x of the center and I know the y of the center. 2 and 2. When they're put into the equation, they should be put with the opposite signs. So when you look at all the choices, they need to be both of them negative. So A could work, B could work, but C cannot. D could work, E cannot. So I'm left with A, B, and D. All the equations of any hyperbola whatsoever is always equals to 1. So that's true for all of them. It is true for, again, all of them. Because this hyperbola is looking to the sides كده, then we should start with the x and then minus the y's. But if it was looking up and down this way, then we should start with the y's minus the x's. And it's true that here the x goes first and then minus the y, so A could work. The B as well, x goes first and then minus the y's, so B could work. But D is not true because they're added, and that's not even an equation of a hyperbola, that's an equation of an ellipse. Type. So I'm now left with just A and B to pick from. What's the difference between A and B? It's in this number here. Is it 3 over 4 that is supposed to be multiplied by the y? Walla, it is supposed to be 4 over 3. So what is 3 over 4 and the 4 over 3, and where would we get them from? So over the x, there's supposed to be a number, and over the y, or under the y, there's supposed to be another number. Both these numbers squared should get me something called the c squared, and that c squared is used to find حاجة اسمها الفوكاي of a hyperbola. Did you خلاص already lose مني focus ولا لسه؟
لسه بجد انا جبتها صح اصلا
بالصدفة
مش على قلبي.
إن اخترت أول واحدة وخلاص.
لا بص اقول لك الحل زي من الاخر كده. قايمة ده نمبر من الاخر كده. ده اكتر واحدة ميك سنس دي تبقى الاجابة.
ليه؟
معرفش هو علي معرفش ازاي عندي بتيجي كده.
ماشي، أنا بس والله هي كل الفرق في حتة 3 over 4 و 4 over 3 دي، بس هو ده كل الحوار فلا.
ايوه ما بالظبط ده بقى اللي خلاها كده اصلا. يعني الحته دي انا كنت بتلخبط بالاثنين دول بس استقريت على اللي فوق عشان اللي هو معرفش.
ماشي.
انا بجد لسه اول مره يعني
تعمل المجهود ده.
اول مره بقلق من الامتحان كده.
ليه بس في ايه؟ طب دي عملت فيها ايه 434؟
لا دي برضه ما عرفتش احلها بصراحة.
ده اللي هو اوف كوزاينز، ده اسمه اي تراينجل كده يكون فيه sides وangles، وانا am asked to find angle او side, then it has to be either the law of sines or the law of cosines. Because we're given this angle ال 25 اللي هي بره التراينجل, it means we can find this one اللي جوه التراينجل using 180 minus 25, which will get you this as 155 degrees. So now you have the middle angle between two sides اللي هما ال 700 وال 250. The law of the cosines states إنه any angle whatsoever to the power of 2 is supposed to be equals to the other, sorry, any side to the power of 2 is supposed to be equals to the other two sides squared minus 2 times the same two sides cosine the middle angle between them. So if I'm trying to find this side, which is an unknown, x squared, it is supposed to be equal to the other two, which are given, squared, minus 2 times the same two sides, اللي هما ال 250 and the 700, but then minus cosine the angle in the middle, which is 155. If I put, or to remove the power 2, I'll have to put a square root over all of this. When you look at the choices, there's this choice that has the 700 squared plus the 250 squared minus 2 times the same two sides, but cosine a weird angle. It is supposed to be cosine the 155. K has to be the correct answer. So just by knowing the rule and being able to put the correct sides and the correct terms in the rule, you just have to pick the correct choice. There's nothing to calculate.
لا ما كنتش عارف الرول، بس انا لسه خليك كده تطورها. تمام كده.
So you could actually برضو write it in this way, in you can pick any side. Let's say it's side A and we'll make it equals to the square root كبير of the other two sides squared برضو plus each other minus 2 times the same two sides cosine the angle in between. This angle has to be the angle between side A, sorry, B and C, or any angle between the two sides. Let's call it the middle angle between the sides. طيب مثلا
طب أنا جوه أنا بقى عشان عندي درس تاني يا دوبك أنزل ألحق له.
good luck. هو
أوكي
فضل شغل ده.
thanks.
باي يا حبيبي.
باي.
We'll just do that على طول يا عمرو. We can go برضو as well. A, B, C such that A, B and C are bigger. A, it means إنه A is the biggest out of them and C is the smallest. Really B is bigger than 0, which means إنه ال B بس هي اللي has to be positive and the A as well has to be positive لو A أكبر. We're not sure about the C though. They're saying which of the following statements are always true. The absolute of A is always bigger than the absolute of B. That's definitely true because already A, when it's positive, it's bigger than B. And when they're both in absolute, they'll remain positive. Is absolute A always bigger than absolute C? That's the thing that I don't know. Because if C is a negative big number, يعني negative 100 مثلا, then maybe when I put it in an absolute, it becomes bigger than the A itself. So I'm not sure about that. Is absolute B bigger than absolute C? I'm still also برضه not sure about that. The only thing you're sure of is the first one. A has to be the only correct answer. Does that make sense?
Yes.
انت حاسس بايه بقى في الأسئلة الصعبة بتاعت النهاردة دي؟
لا تمام يعني.